Hi, I'm Daniel Andrews, owner and creator of the DAN Show, and welcome to my latest 2022 NFL preview video. Today, I'm going to preview the Tennessee Titans. Now, if you're new here, it's your first time here, and you like football, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join the growing community of football junkies and fans of all 32 NFL teams. Now, here's how my videos work. I'm going to give you 3 things I like about the Tennessee Titans. Then I'm going to give you 3 things I don't like. Then I'm going to go over the schedule, the yearly win total odds, and at the very end, I'm going to reveal if I'm going to put action down on the Titans. So let's kick this off. 3 things I like about the Tennessee Titans. Number 1 thing I like about the Tennessee Titans is head coach Mike Vrabel. And I can go on and on talking about how much I like Mike Vrabel, but 2 things stand out. Number 1, in his first 4 seasons as Tennessee Titans head coach, he's had 4 winning seasons. I really, you can't do better than that. 4 seasons, all 4 of them winning seasons. That kind of stands out. The second thing that stands out to me personally is that at the end of the 2019 season, longtime defensive coordinator Dean Pease retired, and he took over as the defensive coordinator in 2020. And this kind of sort of made sense. Him being a former defensive coordinator, not wanting to bring in another defensive coordinator. All right, it didn't work out. In 2020, they were 24th in points, 28th in yards, and the defense had 19 sacks. So what they did is in the offseason, they promoted linebackers coach Shane Bowen to defensive coordinator. And in 2021, they went from 24 to 6 in points, 28th to 12th in yards, and they went from 19 sacks to 43 sacks. Basically, what I like is that Vrabel saw an error. Instead of trying to put a square peg in a round hole, he just corrected. He said, hey, look, I'm not going to be defensive coordinator. I think he wanted to be defensive coordinator, but he decided to make a change, and the Titans team really benefited. And this is a direct correlation to the second thing I like about Tennessee Titans, and that is their front 7. I don't have a list of how I rank the NFL's front 7s, but if I did, the Tennessee Titans would have a top 5 front 7 unit. One of my biggest draft crushes of all time was Harold Landry coming out of Boston College. Last March, he signed a 5-year, $87.5 million deal. A lot of times when players sign a big-time contract, the play drops off, not with Harold Landry. He's always been a A-plus run stuffer, but he had a career high with 12 sacks. And then what Tennessee did last year was they did something. I love when NFL teams do this, by the way, is they poached a player from the Indianapolis Colts, a division rival, Denico Autry. He's also an excellent run defender. He was second on the team with 9 sacks. Now, last year they also signed Bud Dupree to a big-time deal, and he was really disappointing, but he's got all the ability to be a Pro Bowl outside linebacker on Landry's opposite side. And then on the middle, you have Jeffrey Simmons. And if you don't know who Jeffrey Simmons is yet, you either don't watch a lot of football or you will soon. It wouldn't surprise me if in the next 2 or 3 years he replaces Aaron Donald as the best defensive tackle or the best interior lineman in the NFL. It may sound like I'm giving you a load of hyperbole. It's not really the case. He really is that good. I mean, he's a guy you have to double team Jeffrey Simmons, and he still stuffs to run. He can get after the passer. He had 8.5 sacks, and then he had 3 in the playoff loss against the Bengals. This guy is only 25, and I don't love the NFL top 100 list, but he was ranked 54th, and honestly, I don't think there's 50 players better than Jeffrey Simmons, but it does show that he is somebody well respected within the NFL circles. And by the way, this front 7 was a big reason why Tennessee was second in rushing yards allowed, a great accomplishment considering you have to face NFL's rushing leader Jonathan Taylor twice last year. By the way, he had 70 and 64 yards in 2 games against Tennessee. So overall, it's a really talented, very good front 7, one of the top 5 in football. The third thing I like about the Tennessee Titans is the young talent in their secondary. The last 3 years, the Titans have used one of their first 2-round draft picks on a corner, and then 2 years ago they drafted Caleb Farley in round 1 and Elijah Molden in round 3. And the plan is to start Farley on the outside, and Molden is the nickel corner, which basically teams play more nickel than base, so he's basically a starter. And then Kristen Fulton, the Titans' second-round pick in 2020, has all the tools it takes to be a shutdown corner. He started almost all of last year. He could be a perennial Pro Bowler. Now, Farley was injured almost all of last year, but early on in preseason, which I'm making this video during the Titans preseason, he's looked really good. He's a crazy athlete. All he has to do is stay healthy, and there's really no limit to how good he can be, but basically he goes into this season, basically he's a rookie, and then Moulton, he's a guy who's good enough to be a top 2 corner on a lot of teams. He's a nickel corner. So you got 3 super talented young corners. It's really a question of, can they get their game up to speed? And with Farley, you have can he get his game up to speed, plus can he stay healthy? That's a big deal. Kevin Byard led the team with 5 interceptions, and he was also led the team in tackles. This might be the best safety in the National Football League, but nobody says it. This is one of the more underrated players in the National Football League. Stuffs the run, 5 picks, does everything you want. Bottom line, this secondary has a crazy high upside, but the corners are very young, very unproven, but all of them have Pro Bowl potential. And that's what I really like, is that this could be one of the best secondaries in football, whether it's 2022 or 2023. Again, they have to stay healthy. That's a big key, especially for Farley. So to recap the 3 things I like about Tennessee Titans, I love Mike Vrabel, one of the top front sevens in the National Football League, and a very young, super talented secondary. Now, 3 things I don't like about the Tennessee Titans. First thing I don't like about the Tennessee Titans is Ryan Tannehill. And if you don't have a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, your goal is to try to get a top 10 quarterback. Can you win a Super Bowl without one? Yes, but it's really rare. And after 3 interceptions in the playoff loss last year, the Titans went ahead and drafted Malik Willis. And in my opinion, it's just a matter of time before he becomes a starting quarterback, whether it's this year or next year. Now, can you win with Ryan Tannehill in the regular season? Yes. Can you get to a Super Bowl with them? It's possible, just I don't think it's likely. And I think in the Titans organization, I think they're ready to move on, whether it's this year or next year, from Ryan Tannehill. The second thing I don't like about the Tennessee Titans is they are relying way too much on Derrick Henry. When I broke down the Titans last year, I pointed out that no running back who's run for 2,000 yards in an NFL season even came close the next year. Barry Sanders was the one who came the closest with 1,491 yards. And for the 8 games Eric Henry played in, he looked close. It looked like he had a legitimate chance. In 8 games, he had 937 rushing yards. The thing is yards per carry dropped over a full yard. He was averaging 5.4 yards a carry in 2020, just 4.3 last year. And his catches almost doubled as well. I mean, he wasn't really used a lot in the passing game, but he had 18 receptions last year, where in 2020 he had 19 for the whole season. Basically, his attempts per game was 27.4. So just save your math, he's getting 30 touches a game. No fucking wonder he got injured. And he's going to need to do it again this year because of the third thing I don't like about the Tennessee Titans, and that is they lost a lot of starters this offseason. In the playoff loss to Cincinnati last year, Tannehill only completed 15 passes, but a third of them was to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown had 5 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown. But it was Julio Jones who led the team in catches. He had 6 catches, 62 yards. Derrick Henry came back from injury, but he really wasn't the same guy. He had 20 carries, 62 yards, and a touchdown. They signed Donta Foreman when Derrick Henry went down, and he should have got those 20 carries because in 4 carries he had 66 yards, which was more than Derrick Henry had in 20. Bottom line, Julio Jones is gone. A.J. Brown's gone. For some reason, they didn't re-sign Donta Foreman, which I thought they should have. But bottom line, in your playoff loss to the Bengals last year, your 2 leading receivers and your leading rusher from that game are all gone. And then you also lose 2 of your starting offensive linemen to the Buffalo Bills. Now, bottom line, if Derrick Henry's 100% healthy and you're in the playoffs, you got a shot to win that game, but he has to be 100%. Last year he played, but he wasn't even close to 100%. Just to recap the 3 things I don't like about the Tennessee Titans. Ryan Tannehill, they're relying way too much on Derrick Henry, and you have lots of starters missing from 2021. Now I'm going to break down their schedule, go over the yearly win total odds, and then I'm going to review at the end if I'm going to put some action down on Tennessee Titans this year. Now the Titans start off the season at home against the New York Giants, and then you travel to Buffalo for a Monday Night Football. I really like that you play the Colts early in the season, and they have a nice advantage because week 6 they have a bye. The Colts do not have a bye week 6, so after playing them week 4, you play them again week 7, but you get an extra week's rest. That's a real nice advantage. I'm looking at a split their first 2 games, and let's just call the first 2 games against the Colts a split, even though they swept them last year. My question would be week 3 and week 5. You got a home game against the Raiders and at Washington. Is this 1 or 2 wins? Because that would be a difference between 3-3 and 4-2. The next 4 games, 3 are on the road with the Denver Broncos at home. That's a tough 4-game stretch right there. Realistically, 2 games might even be a stretch. I could see 1. Week 12, you host the Bengals. You get a nice advantage there because you have a Thursday night game. You travel to Green Bay, where Cincinnati, week 11, plays on Sunday Night Football against the Pittsburgh Steelers, a division rival, and it's in Pittsburgh, so it's going to be a tough game. With the extra rest and revenge on the mind, I'd be shocked if Tennessee didn't win week 12. Then out of the next 3 games, 2 are on the road. You get Jacksonville at home. Now, my question would be at Philly, at the Chargers, weeks 13 and 15. Can you win one of those games? Because I think you win against the Jaguars at home. Basically, going into the final 3 games, I'm giving you anywhere between 6 and 9 wins. I think if healthy, Tennessee could sweep these last 3 opponents. But I don't see them getting to 12 wins like they did last year. But my question would be, can you get to 10 wins? Because I think in the AFC, 10 wins is the minimum to get to the playoffs. And I think 10 is realistic, but the defense has to be really good. Now, just to go over the yearly win total odds, they're 9.5 at Caesars and 9 at Barstool. Now, Barstool has the industry standard at -110 for both over 9 and under 9, while Caesars has it over 9.5 plus 140 and at under 9.5 -160. Now, this means Caesars either just recently jumped up to 9.5 or they could jump back down to 9, which would match Barstool. In my personal opinion, I like the over. They went 5-1 in the division last year. So if you do bet the over and you want to collect, you need at least 4 wins, probably 5 to hit that number. You're also going to need 1 or 2 of these road games. You got Buffalo, Washington, Kansas City, Green Bay, Philly, and the Los Angeles Chargers. Out of those 6 games, you're going to need 1 or 2 of those to be wins, and it's a lot to ask, but I think they can do it. I'm on the fence if I'm going to put action on them or not. I have to admit, over 9.5 at plus 140 is tempting, but more than likely, I'm probably going to pass on Tennessee. I think that overall, it's a solid team, but there's a lot of question marks. But they're a team I am very, very high on. Just I'm thinking about 10 wins. But this is my opinion. This is what I think. I really want to hear from you. What do you think the Tennessee Titans are going to do in 2022? Drop a comment below. Let's talk football. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Like the video. Give me a thumbs up. This is some great stuff. And ring the bell. That way you're notified every time I come out with a new video. Tomorrow, I am breaking down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I will see you tomorrow.